Hi guys, welcome to the muscle draw videos. I wanted to do a few things before we begin, or mention a few things before we begin. The first is that I want to make sure you guys are studying the OIAs that you have been given by your teacher or professor. The reason for that is that each professor kind of chooses how precise they want to be about each OIA, and I want to make sure that if I mention something and your professor or your teacher has decided to be more or less precise, that you obviously get the correct answer for your class. The second is that I want to mention I won't be covering muscle actions. The reason for that is that if I did, this video would get very, very long and everybody would stop paying attention, but also because it's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to learn the origins and insertions of the muscles, to be able to see them on a skeleton, and then once you do that, you should be able to take a pretty educated guess as to the action of the muscle, and hopefully you may not have to study those as much. The third thing I want to mention is to make this your own. So I am going to be showing you how I use this exercise, but you are welcome to tweak it and change it and make it the best that it can be for you and for your studying. With that, let's get on to the video. So let's get going with the first video. This is going to be showing you the anterior arm. You can see here that this is what I basically printed out as your supplemental exercise. I told you could do it kind of like a homework. So all I'm going to be doing is basically going over it as if I was doing it for homework, and maybe add a few extra things here or there. So the first muscle we're going to do is the Coracobrachialis. And as you can see here, I've got my pen. And we're going to go to you can see here I've already told you the origin and insertion, so hopefully you guys have already written that down. So for Coracobrachialis, we're going to originate at the coracoid process of the scapula, and that's here. So we'll draw a little O. And then it's going to insert on the medial surface of the humerus. So right about there. And then you simply draw a line. And so you can see kind of from that image that when this muscle contracts, you're both going to flex the elbow joint as well as adduct the humerus at the shoulder. The next one we're going to look at is the brachialis, and this one is going to originate the anterior, so the front, distal, meaning the end part of the humerus, right there, and then it's going to insert on the coronoid process of the ulna, and that's this little point. Again, coronoid means crown, like the points on the crown, so it's going to insert right there. And don't get this, this is the coronoid process of the ulna, don't get it confused with the coronoid fossa of the humerus, which is right up here. Alright, so that brachialis is kind of a small muscle, and it's going to be very simple. It's just going to cross that elbow joint. And in reality, the origin is probably more up here. Now that I think about it, on the cadavers you can actually see it up there. Okay, looking at the Brachioradialis, this is going to originate in the distal lateral humerus. So distal, again, meaning farther away, so the farther away point of the humerus, and then lateral meaning outside. So we're going to draw it here. And then it's going to insert on the styloid process of the radius, and that is this little tiny point out here on the radius. Just to be clear, we also have a styloid process of the ulna, so we don't want to get those confused. So this one's going to be styloid process of the radius. This whole muscle is on the lateral surface of the forearm, and it is going to flex the elbow. Alright, let's get a different color. Okay, so we're looking at the bicep muscles now. First, the biceps brachii, long head muscle. This is going to originate in the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula. So if you remember, this is the glenoid fossa of the scapula. And right up at the very top, which is actually hidden in this picture by this coracoid process, right up at the very top there's a bump. called the supra, meaning above, glenoid tubercle. And then it's going to insert all the way down here on the radial tuberosity. And I'm going to draw this. Obviously the muscle doesn't totally look like this, but I'm going to draw it the way that it should go through. That tendon goes through that intertubercular groove or bicipital groove, and then we'll run down there to the radial tuberosity. So you can see that this muscle, this biceps brachii long head, is going to cross two joints. It's going to cross the shoulder joint, so it has an action at the shoulder, and it also crosses the elbow joint, so it has an action at the elbow. Now looking at our biceps brachii short head, this is going to originate on the coracoid process of the scapula, and will come down and actually join with the biceps brachii long head and insert again on that radial tuberosity. And then lastly, we have our Pronator Teres, and this is going to originate on the medial epicondyle, so out here, as well as the coronoid process of the ulna. So here we have two different origin points, and then it's going to insert mid-shaft of the radius, so somewhere around there, actually probably a little bit higher up. And we'll draw our line. And now you can see just by this image that when this muscle contracts, and it's going to shorten this way because it's always going to shorten towards the origin. So when the muscle contracts and shortens this way, that's going to cause pronation of the forearm, or however it is that your professor says that action. All right, and that is it for our first video. If you want, you can follow me in the next video. We'll be doing some of the leg muscles.